Yeah.
Good evening. Today is Thursday, February 21st, 2019. The time is 7:07 p.m. City Hall. This is the monthly meeting of the Beech Grove Redevelopment Commission. I would ask our members starting to my far right to introduce themselves in lieu of roll call.
Paul Kaiser.
Tara Wolf.
Kathy Chappell, Secretary.
Ron Moat, Vice President.
Ed Bell.
And I'm Donald Webb, the president. We'll start off the meeting tonight by knocking out the January minutes. I would ask everybody any corrections, questions, or comments about them. If there are none, then I'd make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Let me see here. We should have those. We got the January bills. There's three of them for $11,096.95. We'll skip the first one and we'll vote on the first one first, which is $7,915. That's Crossroads Engineering. If we approve that, I'd ask everybody but Tara to somebody to make a motion and the rest of us to approve or disapprove that.
I make said motion.
Second.
Those in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye as well. And then the rest are Tim Showalter, $225 for the videotaping. Oh, and there was another Crossroads, Beech Grove Sewage Works, $1875, and then Lewis and Caps, $238.20. So I'd ask for a motion to approve those.
I'll make said motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then there was one other one, I didn't see it, for Crossroads Engineering, skipping Tara on this again, for $2,700.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
A motion to pay those bills are approved. I got a bill from Kevin Parsons, but I didn't get it to Dan till, I want to say, either yesterday or today. I can't remember. I also sent in that email, I asked Dan about the video equipment the RDC was charged. I'd asked him in a previous email. I still have not heard back on that.
He came in the office today. He said from now on, if there is something on the docket that we don't know what it is, we are not to vote on it because it's easier to explain later before it's been paid than to question it after we've paid it. So there's a bill for $145 that he is not billing the RDC for, that it would normally be our bill. He's also giving us $100 credit on what we paid that we shouldn't have paid all of it.
Okay.
So the RDC has $245 credit.
Okay, cool. I can live with that. So, first up, I guess we'll go with our parks presentation.
Always.
Okay. Angel McKenna, here on behalf of the Parks Department. Each of you have a packet that contains these two images here. In November, I think it was, I was here and asked for money to help pay for the Sarah T. Bolton playground. And since then, we've come up with some other opportunities for the playground. This is an updated version of, this is different than the one I had shown you before. It's also less than the one I'd shown you before. So if you look through, there's an invoice that shows that amount there. This amount reflects on us getting two. So Don Chalice is also in need of replacement. It's also a 20-year-old playground piece of equipment, and it needs to replace also. And what we found with Game Time is they're willing to give us a significant discount if we do them both in 1 year. We have the money to cover the Sarah T. Bolton playground in full, but we do not have the money to cover the Don Chalice playground in full. And if you look at the two, you'll see the Don Chalice playground is significantly more than the Sarah T. Bolton playground. And that's because it has more features and it's quite a bit larger than the one that's there and larger than the one that's in Sarah Bolton. So simply what we are asking is, will the RDC help purchase the Don Chalice playground, the new playground, or purchase it in full.
Bob, I have a question here. Per our charter and what we're supposed to be using our money for, would this fall outside the bounds of that?
I think a good argument could be made that a public park that's close to a number of allocation areas, that it's in support of rehabilitation of those areas. It supports it in terms of
So are you saying that an improvement like this does not necessarily have to fall within the boundaries of a TIF district, but if it enhances an adjacent TIF district,
yes.
that it could fall within our province? Okay. I just wanted to make sure we were on sound footing legally.
What amount are you asking for specifically?
The Don Chalice playground is $78,556.56. That includes installation, everything that's needed to replace it. Actually, equipment will be taken down by the Parks Department, so there's no extra fees for removal of that equipment or destruction of it. This is only for putting in the new one and the new ground around it.
Angel, I think you mentioned that if you did both parks at the same time, there's a savings on
Yes.
equipment.
Yeah.
How much of a savings if you do them at the same time?
$39,000, almost $40,000.
Huge.
Have we budgeted for this, Dawn?
We did not have it in the budget we presented to the city council, but it wasn't on our radar when we presented that budget.
Angel, is there a possibility, I know we do this with buses, that they could work a lease out so that they would put it in and it could be paid over 2 years, over 2 budgets?
Actually, no, this fee is based on paying out prior to it being installed. This is like a cash.
The other option is go to one of the local banks.
I'm sorry?
Go to a local bank. We do this with buses. We did a bus bid. We were going to lease buses, and we had 3 different vendors, and the interest rate on that's pretty low. And then there might be better opportunities to help this out over 2 years. But I'm not sure what we can do as far as loans and things like that. But I'm just throwing out finance options to think about. Because we lease all our buses over 5 years. So.
I know nothing about leasing anything or financing things.
Tom
That's
Keeley can help you with that.
That's outside of my knowledge base.
I'm just throwing out, since it's not in the budget, that might be an option to work through. That way you can get it now and then,
I don't know. I think that would be a conversation with the clerk maybe, but I'm not
yeah.
sure about that.
Bob?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
The $78,000, is that if it were purchased separately from the Sarah T. Bulk one?
No.
So effectively, what would be the price?
The full price, I'm sorry. I bought them both together. I'm not great with math on my head, but we have a $78,000 piece of equipment and a $54,000 piece of equipment. And that's the discounted price.
Well, the discount's gonna be about
Would you like my,
$39,000
Yeah, yeah.
and change, 39.5.
But that's after the discount?
So that is the discount.
the numbers I gave you are the totals after the discount.
Discount on the Sarah Bolton is $13,394, and the one on Chalice is $26. It's around $40,000 discount, which is.
So do you have any money to cover the Don Chalice, or is it all or nothing with the RDC to get it.
Correct. We have enough money to cover Sarah T. Bolton.
I think we should discuss trying to fit it into the budget so that we can help the parks.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 720,000 sitting in the bank, so, you know, I mean, we could cover it. I'm not worried about that. You know, your point about we didn't present it to the city council, we do have one city council member here and the mayor. I wouldn't mind asking for their input since you're the voice of the city council or one of them.
I think personally, I mean, anything that's gonna enhance that area, especially there up on Ninth Street with Chalice Park, with the housing addition across the street on Ninth. I mean, and it's, as far as our taxes go, I don't know what we could do any better than that.
Yeah.
Better project than we could put our tax money back into. And I do know that, just because I drive that Ninth Street every day on the way to work and back, and that, when the weather allows, there's plenty of opportunity, there's lots, I mean, that's well occupied.
Yeah, that's a very busy park.
Very busy
Yeah,
park,
that's,
and it's-
that's
and
the
it's-
favorite.
and it's in a location with the school on the top, that, you know, I could even, with the schools, could the schools even use that?
Oh, sure.
To some
Sure.
degree, as far as exercise and stuff, I don't know, do they
Yeah.
do that during the school day?
They could.
The after-school programs use it for sure.
Yeah, yeah, so I mean.
And then with the greenway going in, I feel like it would be a great improvement for that as well.
School, fitness, wellness, I just can't see how, I mean, it's a win.
And Joe, how soon would you have to know? Is this something you want to have installed for this upcoming summer?
Yes, the playground in Sarah Bolton has to be installed by November. What we're hoping is that we could get these installed this, before summer really kicks off, like
Right.
June.
Okay. So when would you have to know from us? I mean, not
Probably as soon as
necessarily
possible.
tonight. or
No.
You do need to
But as
know.
soon as possible, just so we can get things ordered and make plans, you know, by May or June to have it installed. What the hope is to get this done before the summer season really kicks off. And
Sure.
like you said, Don Chalice is a favorite. It's rented out all the time. People just like that one the most, I think, because it's by itself. So it's a very active park. I think it would be a great enhancement there.
Just food for thought, thinking about the parks and, you know, the sooner, if we are going to, if you're going to do it, the sooner you do it, the better, because getting it installed now, it's less used now than it's going to be in May and June.
Right.
So by, you know, by not putting it off, we get actually more utilization out of it now.
And the equipment that's already there, the playthings, are they going to be completely removed or just moved and added to,
Removed.
removed? Are they just in that kind of, just needing replacement?
Yeah, they're in disrepair. They've been repaired a lot over the years,
Okay.
and they need to be removed.
What's the estimated useful life on such equipment?
Well, the ones that are in there now are 20 years old.
Why?
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions? Ed, do you have anything?
I guess my thoughts on it, and again, I was waiting to let you all talk, because I sometimes monopolize and I don't mean to, but we're invested in the community. We're invested in people who, you know, the RDC pulls money from local governments to invest, and, you know, this is an investment in a park that's heavily used, and the park becomes more attractive. People want to live near the park, the values of the homes around the park go up, the community has a nicer park. I've always thought those were win things, because, you know, we're not paying someone to come to Beech Grove, we're putting in an attraction to make people want to come to Beech Grove, and I've always kind of taken that more proactive, and plus where the park is with this relation to South Grove Elementary, it enhances that school, it gives them an asset to use as well. With the Greenway coming in 2020, again, it makes that area even more attractive. And, you know, I look at it as, yeah, it's, what, $76,000 with what you said, I think, or 78, I'm sorry. But that's $78,000 we're putting into our house, or the house of Beech Grove, and me personally, I don't see how you can ever lose on those things. Why I struggled with putting a roof on some guy's business on Main Street, I don't really struggle with this type of decision, but that's my opinion, and I'm not asking it to be yours. That's why I welcome open dialogue and what you all think.
I move that we have the conversation with who we need to on the council to put this into our budget. Provide the parks with the money.
I don't, Robert, do we even have to do that? We just
we don't
present a
have to.
budgetary
Okay.
guide, but we don't put it in stone. Because I'll give you an example, Tara. One of the things we're going to talk about next month is Kevin Parsons, they're going to come to the presentation on what's going to cost and what it's going to look like. And they're going to ask us if we want to start construction. And we only budgeted $44,000 for all that design work, but they may very well come and say, we'd like $250,000 to put in those signs and do those things, and we may very well say, yeah, let's do it. So I don't think we have to do it. The law is always vague on that. You have to present a budget to the city council, and they're supposed to approve it, but it's not necessarily, I think, set in stone, or at least it never has been, because there's been years in the past when we presented a budget and then not even done some of the stuff on that budget, or exceeded that budget and done different things, because different things have popped up throughout the year that we've deemed that we needed to do, so.
When the city council wants to do a project that is not budgeted, they do what they call an additional appropriation, and they vote on it, then they do it. So you folks should follow the same lead. If you want
Right, we'd have to vote to
a project
approve.
that is not budgeted, you should appropriate the money if you choose to do the project.
And Don, I'm going from my memory, there may be a limitation on the amount that the RDC can spend without city council approval. I don't off the top of my head recall what that amount is, but I would prefer that be given an opportunity to check that number.
I think that's a good idea.
Vote on it tonight. 2 or 3 years ago, in response to Carmel, I think there was some limitations, and they may be higher than that, but.
I was gonna say, we're an awfully small RDC. You know, Carmel, their RDC spent like $2.5 billion. We've managed to spend about $3 million.
$150,000 on a restroom. So I don't see the correlation.
Bob, could they pass a motion stating their approval pending final legal review? That way we wouldn't have to wait a month. If they're so interested.
If we can't, or we choose, or we can't do the entire amount, is there anyone else to go to for the remainder so you can still do this?
I'm not sure. I'm open to suggestions, I think. I mean,
He
we
may,
could,
even if we want to, he may very well come back and say we can't do this amount.
But you could approve it pending that review. That's one approach, and.
Or we could have a
I guess
special
I would
meeting.
ask Dennis whether or not he would prefer, going back to.
I say we,
Well, I don't know.
I think we
If it's a
table it.
project, they should approve it.
Wasn't this brought up?
That's my opinion.
Dennis, when you say that, you're talking about
Ron.
the RDC, not the city. You're saying the city council really doesn't have to
These
approve
things
it in your
dropped on
opinion?
me with short,
Separate.
it should have been brought up 6 months ago, so we could put it in our budget or
Oh,
discuss
but
it.
they didn't know anything about it 6 months
So a
ago.
motion would
They
be for them
didn't. In
to
November.
appropriate the money
All came up in
for
November.
the project, would be a good
That's when
turnout.
we gave her $6,000. They didn't have anything to present to us.
I'm not saying present, I'm talking about planning, so we could have incorporated into our budgetary process.
Cities and schools.
I don't know
do
when they
additional
start talking about
appropriations.
it.
They have to
I can
send
find out, but I
notices,
don't know.
and you have to have a
Well, then
hearing.
let's just table it till next month.
I think that's good.
Usually this hearing don't amount to anything more than calling it a hearing and asking if anybody wants to speak on it, but they have to send out notice in order to do an additional appropriation. RDCs really aren't subject to the additional appropriation statutes. It's more a matter of whether you consider your budget something that you follow without taking further action, or whether you treat it as just a suggestion for the coming year.
Elizabeth, what are your thoughts? With the, I mean, do you want us to come to the city council next month?
I don't think it's, personally, I don't think it's necessarily, like I said, stated before, I just think it's an excellent opportunity for the RDC to show the community that these dollars are, and it's a visual, they struck. Body, and when you look at the fact, which I like the idea of the signage on 465, but when you hear people start saying, well, you know, we're gonna put up these signs on 465, but when the RDC now helps with something that's gonna directly affect and help the families in our community, you know, you kind of might offset some of that negative, if there is such a thing, but you know what I mean. I think you guys all know, how things like this go. But I personally, I don't know why, unless the legal and the mayor says you don't have to go to the council, I would hope that the council would be in good favor, just based upon, you know, the fact that they see the need. I mean, we are all in for our parks, yeah. So,
John, if maybe we can progress to some of the other agenda items. Alex is doing some online research here.
That's what I was doing too.
So probably in 15 minutes or so or less, we'll know the answer to the question I raised. Maybe much higher than the 50,000 cap, maybe 500,000.
Spending millions of dollars.
Well, we could also have a special meeting before,
Yeah, I don't think that's necessary. We'll find it, but if you could just
carry on.
advance on your agenda, carry on, advance on your agenda, and before the meeting's over, we'll give you a.
Thank you.
I think that's wise.
Okay, I do have one more topic, if it's okay. It's completely different than this. I've been working with a company on developing more, I guess I could just call it a website for the Parks Department to help ease registration for programs and money and contracts and all of these things. And this company also offers a city website. And I know that the RDC finds the image of Beech Grove important. So I thought that our website is part of our image and it could use an upgrade. And I'm not sure if the RDC is in the business of purchasing a website for the city or improving our image that way, but I feel like it's a very important thing that needs to be considered. So would you be interested in me getting more information to share with you about that project?
I would, for the RDC, would you?
I would listen to the idea. Doesn't, isn't the city website, isn't that maintained by volunteers with no
That's under the control of the clerk's office.
clerk's office?
Right.
That's right.
Right. Who provides funding for that now, Dennis?
The city. I don't know if there is any funding for it. I don't think.
The company that you're talking about doing it, is there any chance to get together? I know you've talked to him, but is there a chance for other people that are interested to get together again?
Sure, I think they would be happy to come. Their base is, I think, Kansas maybe, but they've come this way and they'd be happy to come again and do a presentation. It's called Civic Plus. The website I've been looking at is Civic Rec, but their whole city site is Civic Plus. Zionsville uses it.
I've looked at, you told me which
Did I tell you a
websites, I
couple?
looked at it.
Yeah, there were a couple that are similar to our size, and I had I think Chesterton is one.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to look at those websites, that's what they offer.
Yeah, I did.
And it's very integrative. I mean, you could go in there and we could pay bills that way. People could pay their tickets, people could pay their sewer bill, people could pay for shelter rentals. They could do everything the site offers. It's just a very nice site, so it's something I think worth looking into. I know there are others out there, and I don't know what the price is for a city. I'm sure that would be a factor, but
Did they give you prices on what Chesterton and Zionsville paid for their sites to be created?
no, but I can get a proposal. We just haven't gotten that far because I wanted to see the interest first.
What are your thoughts on that?
Again, it's putting money into our house. It's making it easier for our voters, our taxpayers, the users of our government. I'm in favor of anything that makes it better for the people who pay the bills in this town. I mean, that's been my thought from the get-go. You know, so I'm not opposed to that.
Would you like me to bring things together for the next
Yeah,
meeting?
I have no issue with that. Like I said, like I've told you many times, we're always open. We'll listen to just about anything. You
Don't
know,
empower me that way because I might be up here every month.
Well, I understand, you know, but again, like I say, the things you're mentioning just add value to your community. And, you know, again, Beech Grove is not a rich community, and people are looking to the Parks Department for programs and things to do. You know, working with the, and I look at it all ties together. The parks work with the schools, the school works with city government. We attract people, so I have no issues with any of this.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, so that's good to know. So can I be on the agenda for next month to present that information, or?
Yeah, I'm
Is that
fine with
fine?
that.
Okay.
Don't ever worry about that.
Okay, well then I'll be here next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Jim.
Jim Kaufman. I'm the treasurer of Next Stop Beech Grove. Spoke to you guys again back in November, I think the same time that Angel was here, about our facade grant that we are working on applying for this year. Currently, the grant application for Okra is due on June 28th. There are currently 12 buildings that have agreed to participate in the grant. Last year, again, I told you we tried to apply last year. We were going to, but then we had 3 businesses drop out due to financial reasons. Part of this grant says the local match is 25%. So we're going to apply for a $600,000 grant. 25% would make it $150,000 is what we have to come up with to get that grant. So property owners will have to provide their portion of the match to the city of Beech Grove by May 1st of this year. Breakdown of the funds needed. Construction cost above the $600,000 is $17,000. The grant admin is $48,000. Environmental review is $5,000. The city of Beech Grove has already paid for that portion. Labor standards is $5,000, and then architectural final design and inspections is $75,000. So that's where the $150,000 comes from. On that form I gave you, it has a list of the 12 buildings who are participating in the grant. 220 Main Street, which is a studio. 302 and 304 is Mater Design, new business that we're lucky to have on Main Street. And they have a spot next to him that is open and available, I think, still, right? Maybe? We're close. There you go. Fair enough. 407 and 411 Main Street at Synthorn Agency, Harrison Lips, and the Chamber's office. 423 is Fifth Avenue Grill and Bar. They are now structurally sound. They got some roof work done, so they're good to go in that aspect. They're not open yet, but I'm hoping in the next year or so they'll be open. 503 to 505 Main Street is the Dr. Jordan's office. 614 is the 1949 Tavern, which is formerly known as Harvey's. 618 Voila Wine and Local Artist. Same building, same owner. That hasn't opened yet, but she's hoping again in the next 6 months that she'll be open for a wine bar. 617 is the Beech Grove Masonic Lodge. 620 Eckstein Shoe Store. 622 the Tea Room of Rustic Root. 7 to 704 Main Street is the Vault, Victory Rolls, Baked Goods, and D's Taps, and then 758 is Napoli Villa. If the RDC does decide to help, I was told by the grant administrator that a resolution would need to be passed by May 1st. If the grant does happen to be awarded on the first attempt, approximately 60% of the funds will be due in September of 2019. The remaining 40% would be due at the project completion. Construction would start in February of 2020 with grant awards announced on August 15th of this year. It is a competitive grant. I think they just awarded 3 or 4 I think it was last month they awarded 3 other cities with this same facade grant. I don't know who did not get awarded, but It is competitive. It's based on a number system and how many points you get. One aspect of it is the more the city puts in, the higher points you get in that one aspect. There are many different areas where they grade it. You guys should have the book up there with the plan. There's, I think, 9 of those buildings have the facade renderings on there. Show you what the work's being done, how much it costs for all that work. If it doesn't get approved this first round, then Ochre will come out, meet with Next Stop in the city, tell us how we can approve our application, apply again. And so if it's not awarded the first time, we're going to apply again in November. That round is due November 22nd of this year, and again awarded next or announced next January. So yeah, so we're open to any help that you guys would like to provide.
How much help are you looking for?
Any help that you guys can provide. I know somebody mentioned like the grant administration cost. That's only awarded or given if we do get the grant. So if we apply for the grant, it doesn't get awarded, that grant admin gets paid nothing. So that $48,000, it's not awarded to him. He only gets that if we are actually awarded with the grant. And again, if that is the case, then 60% would be due after it's awarded, and then after completion, it would be the remainder of that would be due. Again, yeah, and anything that is provided to help us meet our match as business owners, I think would be greatly appreciated. The 12 buildings that we have now, I'm hoping everybody is able to do it. Once you get closer to that date of May 1st, I'm hoping those 12 businesses will still be able to. Last time we got about middle of October, and they were due November 1st, and then we started losing some businesses getting closer to. So it's one of those things. I'm hoping we have 12, and I hope these 12 businesses remain. It's hard to say once that time actually gets here.
Any chance any others could be added to the list between now and then?
Not at that point, no, because we have to send out these addresses to SHPO for the environmental review. So they have to be approved. I think that's 60 days, right, Dennis? 60 days is what they require for that to be sent back to get approved. So, yeah, so those addresses have to have the renderings from the architect, the addresses and the pictures, and the scope of work would be sent to SHPO for approval. So, yeah, you would not be able to add anything at that point. We would just still continue to apply for the grant, just not at the full amount of the 600, which would change the percentage at that point as well, because it'll still be 25% of the match. Last year, when we had those 3 buildings drop out, it was either continue on as is and just ask for 400 of 600, and this is a one-time gig, so if you get awarded, you can't apply for it again. So we thought, well, there's plenty of other buildings out there on Main Street that would be happy to join in, because when we first sent it out there, I think there were 15 or 16 buildings that showed interest. So we thought, well, we're not going to apply for 400 when there's $200,000 left that we could easily get if we're going to apply. So we decided to hold off, and that's when those other 3 buildings, Harvey's, the old meat market, Fifth Avenue Grill and Bar, and then the Masonic Lodge, those were the 3 that filled in after the other 3 fell out. So.
Jim, what's the timeline when the money would have to be distributed?
From the RDC, so the business owners have to provide whatever their percentage ends up being by May 1st. For the RDC, if it is the grant admin cost, it wouldn't be until September if it's awarded. Passing a resolution saying that you guys would provide X amount of dollars if it is awarded, and if it's not awarded, then nothing will ever leave any bank account. And then if we do not succeed the first round, we're asked again for the second round, and then another resolution would have to be passed and then not actually paid out until the work is awarded, and then the rest of it when it's actually done.
So could a contribution from the RDC or another group, could it span 2 budget years, the timing with construction?
Absolutely, because like if we do get awarded this first time, some of the money would be due from the RDC in September of this year. Construction would start February of next year, and then once it's completed, then the remainder would be due. So at least specifically the grant admin costs, that would be due after the fact, so.
Spread out over 2 budgets.
Correct, yeah, so the portion now, and then construction wouldn't start until next year, and then it would go until, I'm assuming, a few months, if it started in February or March of 2020.
So, just so I understand, you would like the RDC to cover the grant administration cost of $48,000?
Yeah, I'd be more than happy with that, or, I mean, if you want to go above that, then I'd be happy with that too, but yes, anything that you guys are able to, I think we'll be more than happy with, and you know,
Are
appreciative
we able
of, so
to do
we.
that, Robert? Would we be able to cover the grant administration cost as part of this Main Street development?
I believe so, as long as we're on the contract. The language that allows us to assist a not-for-profit to do improvements that will benefit the TIF area, although Main Street's not in the TIF area, it's certainly very close and physically connected to, and certainly improvement of Main Street businesses would improve those consolidated TIF area. But we have to be on a contract for that. We can't just throw money, we have to be, in essence, the owner's name is on the contract.
And it's my understanding, you said that the city applies for the grant, right, Dennis? So
The
what,
city
by
shall-
way of, the city's,
Yes.
Okay,
The
yeah.
city is the owner, but to get within that statute, we have to also be on that contract.
okay, that makes sense. I just want to make sure it's not next stop, we have to have next stop in order to
That's what the
apply for the city.
statute provides.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
So we would need to jointly be on that contract, even if we're paying all of the $48,000.
And our grant administrator is Mike Kleinpeter. Have you guys spoke with him before? I think you have, haven't you? No. I was thinking he had come out to you guys before. But he's open to any questions, and if he needs to come out here and talk next month, he can, I'm sure. Or I can provide his contact information for any questions or concerns you might have about that, or if Mr. Runn needs that information, I can send it to him too. But
I have a question.
Ma'am.
You said if you got turned down this time, we would not owe that grant admin
Correct.
cost. If we paid something other than that, would that money just stay on file for the next time you apply?
yeah,
We would need to, Kathy, we would need to be on a specific contract in order to provide assistance under the statute.
Okay, but let's say we're on the contract and we decide to pay something other than the admin.
Then we would need to be on another contract.
because like the architectural fee, that the architect right now is architectural trio, Pat Jacobs, and then the inspections and all that will come, and I'm not sure who all that's going to go to yet, but that's just the.
But my question
The
was,
cost of-
if they didn't get the grant, would that money come back to the RDC?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That-
You
that was
wouldn't,
my
yes,
question.
Resolution would.
it just,
Yeah.
yeah. got
And we
it.
would have to prepare a resolution, not tonight, we'd have
Yes.
to work with.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
my
and Mr. Kleinpeter said he has some resolutions that they've used in other cities. So yeah, basically, no money would leave anything until it gets awarded. If it doesn't get
Until it's
awarded, then you have a
okay.
resolution that never had to take place. And if it came again next year, we'd ask for another resolution and try it again, so.
Could he forward to Donald and to us a copy of
Yes.
the proposed resolution?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, he's worked with a few cities. He did Greenfield. They got awarded it, and he was a grant admin over there. And then Pat Jacobs just got awarded. She was the architect for one of the other cities. I forget which one it was, but they just got awarded this last round for their facade grant as well. So, very, very good people to have on our team. I think that they do well and they provide a good grant application. And
So all businesses on Main Street were informed and apprised
Correct.
of this, right? And had an opportunity.
yeah, to the
Either
best of our
shows or
knowledge,
not
from
shows,
public
so-
hearings, public meetings, emails, knocking
That's
on
what I'm
doors
getting
and all
at.
that. Yes,
is
sir.
If we approve this and it starts next year, I just don't want somebody from one of those businesses coming saying, why did you do this for Eckstein Shoes? Nobody ever said anything to me. And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, as long as everybody had a shot at it and understood what
Yeah, I
it
mean,
was, I mean, that's where I want
I
to be.
understand.
Is,
Yeah, I understand, and Angel can vouch for that too. It's hard to get a hold of a lot of people out
Oh,
there,
yeah.
but I mean, we've been working on this. Next Stop's been here about 2.5 years. This facade specifically is we've been working on for at least a year and a half. Our contact list is continuing to grow on Main Street, but we've got, I think, just about a majority of the property owners and the business owners that we can find. Some of them we've tried and contacted, and they just have no contact whatsoever, no response. Whether we email them, text them, or call them, or knock on the door that's locked. It's just hard to get to, but yes.
So the businesses, the buildings that are not participating, unless the owner decides to do something to spruce up the facade of their building, they're just going to look as they look now.
Correct. We're
You
hoping
might have
that,
some really nice buildings that have been updated, and then you're going to have one that may be-
correct. And when we looked at this number, we're trying to make the biggest impact, but instead of just doing, some places say you do one block, make one block look really great. Or you can say you spread it out. So we have a very big Main Street in our T areas. I mean, it's 8 blocks and it goes north and south on Second, a block. So spreading it out there, I'm hoping it'll kind of get some of the worst, and also some of them that have been there forever. I mean, some of these buildings on this list, mine specifically is 1923. Some of them, the 700 building is early 1900s. They need a lot of love, and a lot of them have been cared for, but it's just very expensive to get. So some of these buildings are looking at brand new windows and doors and things that haven't been able to be repaired or replaced over the last many years. So hoping it'll kind of cause a ripple effect as well. When Main Street was redone a few years ago, you saw then many businesses kind of picked up and painted their fronts, and some of them got new signage and got new awnings and kind of fixed up the front of their buildings during that time because they saw the city investing in it, so they continued to invest in it as well. So we're hoping that'll kind of continue along the way.
any other questions? Any thoughts?
And I'll just make the comment, you talked about our house. This is another example of our house. If you go to Speedway, Zionsville, downtown Greenwood, you're seeing a lot of upgrades, which brings people down. It was great coming in tonight. I told Mayor, I said there were people all over the place at the different establishments downtown. The more we're able to help the businesses, the more they're going to invest in it themselves. And there is a lot of peer pressure too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just look, when we had that sleet, hailstorm we had, 3 years ago, people started fixing their roofs, then they fixed this, and the neighbor, I mean, there's been a continuous, and there, you know, again, to what levels, I'm not a voting member, so I can't, say one or the
No,
other,
no,
but
I
I just
mean-
think, I think this is a tremendous investment, like the parks in downtown, especially
agree.
if someone's gonna give us a chunk of money.
And I think that's the biggest thing is it's $600,000 of everybody's here's money that's out there. I mean, it's federal money that is available
That's if you look at
if you apply for it. If you don't apply
look at the
for
ratio
it,
of 150,000 compared to 600,000, that's a pretty good return on investment
Right.
in today's market.
And I think that's money we'll get back because the AV will go up, which helps
Oh,
the
absolutely.
school, which helps everybody else.
And again, the good thing is, as Jim stated, you can budget it over 2 years. If you'd want to go the full amount, you could budget some now and then budget the other half of the year. Hang on the will of the board.
I mean, it sounds like we don't have any issues if we want to do the 48,000, that we're within the statute to do it. We just got to be on the contract, which I'd have Jim and Robert work with the mayor and all them to make sure of that, but, if we don't get it, we're not out any money. So if it comes, when they don't get it, we don't lose anything, but,
until next year and we apply again and ask
right,
again.
well, and I mean, well, and then again, you'll go
But
in
yes,
front of a board then and
Yes.
present your case, but the upside to me of new business or repairing business and adding value to our Main Street, we are, for what, the past 25, 30 years, we've all been trying to figure out how to make Main Street more attractive. Because
Yeah.
it really doesn't fit today's social model or business model. I mean, it's, strip malls or big malls, or now it's actually online, online ordering. So, I mean, Main Street is unique and it's tough to sell and it's tough to move there, but You know, if we could put $600,000 into our main street, fix those businesses up, they become more attractive. And to Dr. Kaiser's point, you know, if the business next to you looks nice and people are coming into it and yours looks like a crack house, you're either going to put money into it or somebody's going to buy it and put
And-
money into
yes.
it because they will see value there. And a prime example is Irvington on Washington Street. If you think about it, back in the 90s, those were all abandoned stores. And now it's a vibrant area. It's very up and coming and people are attracted there. And I just, again, I think it's a good investment for the community.
If you and if you look at this list of businesses, it's interesting because you see it's a very good mix. You have several of these businesses and property owners are new to Beech Grove, and that they saw the potential in where Beech Grove is going and Main Street's going. That like Mr. Mater, he saw that, so he's invested already. Substantial amounts on our Main Street. You look at places like the Vaults have been here for many years. Victory Rolls is new, D's Taps is new. Masterson Building just sold last year, so we got a new investor, new property owner there. The people that own Harvey's, a new people who came in and said they saw that potential in that future, and I think it's only going to stand to benefit, not just Main Street, but the whole city of Beech Grove and the greater South Side as well, because people will see that. And then, like Dr. Jordan's, he's been there forever, and Fifth Avenue Grill and Bar. So you got a good mix of new businesses, new investors, and the older ones that have been there for years. So we're excited about it, so I think it'll be good.
Well, my only concern is the RDC seems to have a lot going on. I want to make sure we don't get ourselves in a financial bind. I mean, because we're still talking about doing signs on the interstate.
Right.
Now we're considering the park, now we're considering this.
Well, what we talked about with Kevin was doing the two concrete brick ones.
Right.
And those were going to be around 75 apiece. So that's
Right.
150. We committed 44 to Kevin, so that's 225 or 200. 93 for the Greenway this year, if my memory serves. I think.
What's nice?
Don't shoot me if I'm wrong, please. But so roughly, if you add all this together, we'd be spending around 400,000 out of our 790,000 this year. We haven't spent a lot in the last couple of years. That's why we've got the money. And again, the RDC is grandfathered so that it goes out of business in 2030.
Right.
Or is it 20? It might be 20. It's 28 or 30. I can't remember which, but one of those years it ends. And so we basically, on current assessed value and what we're bringing in, we've got roughly $8 million of cash left on top of what we have right now to spend on the city if we want to redevelop it, or if we get to 2022 when our bonds are paid off, if we decide there's no more opportunities, theoretically it could end there. But we have been really diligent about using cash only, not taking on any new debt, refinancing our debt, paying down our debt. It's up to you guys again, but I just look at these as valuable opportunities.
And again, I would just add that if you wanted to do the full 150, you could commit to it, but you're paying it over 2 budgetary years, so you're going to have taxes coming in on the 6 months to help to replenish. And I don't know all the details of how much you get every 6 months, but that you could be thinking about some now, then
The RDC gets roughly,
some additional dollars.
I want to say we get like $1,080,000 a year is about what we bring in. And I want to say we pay about $580,000, almost $600,000 for our bonds. So each year we have roughly $400,000 is what we bring in. Now next year I know we've got a big pill to swallow for the Greenway. I forget what that is, but I want to say it's like $134,000. That sound close? So I mean, I know that'll be a big chunk of next year's, but I guess what I look at is I look at the park as, boy, wouldn't it be great to get the swing set in, clean that up, and have that ready for the Greenway as an add-on. And then to Jim's point, as much as I don't really necessarily believe government should be paying money to business, this is invested in our Main Street, and every business in that area was given an opportunity to do that. My hope in the future would be that we start going down Emerson Avenue. you know, and those businesses along Emerson that look run down, maybe they would start getting involved in that. I would hope that would be, you know, in the years ahead, because not everybody drives down Beech Grove, but a lot of traffic goes down Emerson.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
And, you know, the old Kroger store, which is now the flea market, I mean, you know, that whole area desperately needs redevelopment, or a tornado, whichever, but, you know what I mean? It hurts our image. I mean, you know, if you, again, I've heard it before and read it, if you want to tell the vitality of a community, look at the number of liquor stores and payday lenders in the area. And that'll tell you whether you're in a good area or a bad area. And thankfully, we don't have a lot of that right now, but it wouldn't be hard with the way some of those things get run down to have somebody come in and put those. And then all of a sudden, you see that slow decline. So, my opinion, everything presented tonight to me has value, but that's just my opinion, and I value your guys as well. So, I'll let you all speak to it.
Were you asking us to vote tonight, to make a decision tonight?
No, like I said, no, I know you guys support this project, and that's what you said in November, so I think it's up to you guys. No, we can come back again. I can have Mr. Kleinpeter come next month as well if he can, and, you know, or I can answer additional questions if you guys have it in the meantime. I think the business owners who are here will be pleasantly happy with any number that is provided to them. You know, because like I said, their money's going to be due May 1st. So whatever's decided here will just lower their 25% to whatever it would be. So, so that's just going to be an added benefit. That.
Robert?
Donald, yeah. I would ask two things. One, you not vote tonight, have the specific resolution in front of you. And two, in terms of the amount, tie it to one or two contracts, not just an abstract total, because we have to contract in order to spend our money, our RDC money. So, you know, the grant administrator, that's fine, that's $48,000. If you want to go above that, then you need to identify a contract that the RDC wants to pay for, or not.
Will there be a construction manager or construction company we select for this?
It will, yeah. I mean, yeah, it would go out to bid, right, Dennis?
So in essence, what Bob's saying, we could then turn around and then pay that, have a contract with that contractor for the matching share.
Well, you mentioned to me, when we talked on the phone, that there was an architectural firm and that design work was, what, $175,000?
Just 75. So the labor standards is something that needs to be done, and that's paid to Mr. Kleinpeter as well. He does that study. That's $5,000. The $75 for the final design and inspections, and then the additional $17,000 above the $600,000 would give you the $150.
Do you oversee the contractors as well?
Yeah, I mean, he
Besides, you wouldn't have a construction manager.
I'm not sure about.
I believe that
Okay.
this is
I'm not
typically
sure.
a public bid process, which would have a general contractor on board. You wouldn't hire a separate construction manager, the general contractor and the architect.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
what I-
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Thank you. So, yeah.
John's looking at your book.
Oh, yeah, well, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, it's a good book, and you guys help pay for that, so we appreciate it. It was,
That's nice.
there's a lot of good information in there.
There is. That's
Some
very
renderings about
well put
ideas of what we
together.
can do. You know, some of those architectural features in the drawings in there will show you what, you know, a few of those are in this application for the grant, but the majority of them are just showing you what just things like, you know, doors and windows and awnings and
Right.
brickwork and all that stuff can change. New lighting to kind of
Right.
help lighten up Main Street a little bit. Almost all these renderings will have additional outside lighting on them, so it'll just add to the
Is
the
this
outdoor.
what the original money was used for? Didn't they give you like $40,000?
Correct.
or-
Yes. Yeah.
and
So
this
the 10%
is part of
match.
that?
Correct. Yeah. That's
Very
that's
nice.
what that paid for. So.
Well, what do you guys want to do on this one?
I think we take a look at the proposed resolution and go from there at the next
Right,
meeting.
well, I think next month is March, that's right. Either March or April, we could vote on it to do it, and then put them in his timeframe. My question though is, do you guys want to do just 48? Do you want to do more? What are your feelings? He said as much as we want, but
Like I said, I'm not gonna
Can we
argue with any of
discuss
that, but
we can.
like I said, we're just happy with any help, and I know that's gonna just make it a little easier on some of these, businesses. Because some of this work, you're paying 25% of that, but you're also paying, higher costs. It's a bigger project. You're paying for the grant admin costs and all those additional fees that wouldn't necessarily be included if you did it yourself.
Not if I could add, the more we lower the cost to the businesses, the more they can reinvest in their businesses. And again, just looking from the outside and constantly looking at assessed valuation and all the other things, the more the value of that property goes up, they're gonna pay higher property taxes, but it's gonna
If it's
draw
all-
people in. So I'm just looking at it, if I was a decision maker, I would look at the whole 150, knowing that you could budget over 2 years, two periods of time, and you can pay 75. And then Jim, maybe if you come back with a specific plan on how that 150.
Where the numbers
could
would
be
go and
broken
when.
down to meet what Bob wants in a contract, then the board will have
Okay.
a better feel for it. But again, you said it earlier, that you talk about something that can really vitalize downtown. I mean, we just had a lot of new businesses opening up, and we want to bring other people in. If you want to bring people to Emerson Avenue, guess what? They're going to look at Main Street, and then they're going to say, well, heck, I can open a business down there. So it may well be worth the investment. But maybe coming back with information, being very specific about how that 150, going back to what Bob, and how that could be tied to a contract. And then that'll give the board some more time to digest and think about it. And then if you have questions, you can maybe communicate with Jim
And
and the team.
I'm not gonna argue with that idea either, but also if businesses have to have some type of a buy-in as well, if it's not all 150, but if if you still have to at least provide 10% or versus the 25, just that way they are invested personally at the same time, or you can see it either way. But yeah, I think both of them are good. Main Street's probably the healthiest it's been in a long time, and the vacancies are one of the lowest they've been. I mean, we're running out of space, which is a great thing. I have a few new businesses coming in the next couple months as well. One across the street from me, a lady just bought that building, and she'll be opening up a shop again. So, I mean, it's doing very well. So this would just kind of help keep that momentum going.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
Just one question, because I don't know anything about the grant requirements. Is the 25% defined as a local match, or is there any share of that have to come from the affected businesses?
It's just a local match. So wherever it comes from, it just has to come from somebody outside of that $600,000. So.
I guess my thoughts are, Jim, work with Robert and the mayor, and on our March 21st meeting, come with a specific number,
Yes, sir.
which I'd tell the board that he's either looking at 48,000 for the grant, or as Dr. Kaiser suggested, covering the 150,000. And we can think about it between now and then, and if you guys, if we want to have a special meeting or something like that, or we just want to discuss it at the next meeting, I'm fine with whatever you guys want to do. But I do think there's value in this, and I think everybody out here, I don't think anybody disagrees, so. Bringing up the assessed value of Main Street is just gonna help. And like I said, I'd look at Irvington on Washington Street, to your point.
Oh, yeah.
We go out to Dawson's and Speedway all the time, it's a restaurant, and if you go along that street now, I mean, I think about what Main Street and Speedway was in the 80s, and oh my gosh, it was this Main Street out here,
Oh,
and
for sure.
now it's prime real estate. I mean, they're building around it, and the houses around it are revitalized. I mean, you can just see it. And now granted, they have a big advantage in that they have a huge track next to
It does help a
them.
little bit, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a huge advantage. They also have Allison and some heavy industry there, where we don't necessarily have that. But, I mean, like I say, we have got to keep sprucing up this town, because I just saw tonight where the Bates Hendricks neighborhood over there in Fountain Square, houses 5 years ago were going for 50,000 or less, and now they're up to 150,000, and they're still rehabbing them and selling them for $3 million. So I mean, and those people that could afford those $50,000 houses, they're being forced out of there, and they've got to go somewhere. And I don't have anything against that, but we don't want to get to where we become a pocket of poverty, because we haven't taken care of our city and stuff like that. So, like I said, I'm in favor of whatever we can do, Jim.
Very good. Well, we appreciate it, and I'll have Mr. Kleinpeter send you some information, and then I'll email you as well. If you have any questions in the meantime, feel free to let me know. But I appreciate what you guys do. So, Thank you.
Do we want to do the mayor's report, or do we want to go back to our park?
What'd you find out, Bob?
That amount will not be a problem.
I was gonna say, that's a drop in the bucket.
The only lower amount is if we were gonna acquire real estate that cost more than $25,000, if it exceeded appraisal by two people. The other figure is what, 5 million?
5 million.
Yeah.
Like I say, we don't really have that much money left in our RDC till 2030, so I think we're in good shape.
I just couldn't recall how many zeros were after the.
So again, I'll leave it up to you guys. If you wanna vote on it tonight, fine. If you wanna wait till next month, but I'll leave it up to the board. I'll grant your guys' wishes, so.
Make a motion to vote on it tonight.
I'll second the motion.
What do you wanna do, Ron?
We can vote on it tonight.
Okay. Kathy?
Tonight.
Okay. So, do we need any paperwork on this, Robert?
No.
Okay.
The motion that is reflected in the minutes, exactly what it is you're doing.
I got the wrong one.
And it could be in the form of accept the recommendation, move to accept the recommendation to contribute $78,000.
Right.
556.
So, okay, so then I would ask one of the board members, if we all agree to this, to make a motion to fund the park playground equipment at Don Challis Park in the amount of $78,556.56.
And Don, if someone could also add to that motion, that the finding that the RDC finds that it's in support of the
Community?
consolidated TIF area in Beech Grove.
Well, yeah, because the greenway's touching the TIF
Yeah.
and all that, and it'll be right next to the greenway. So, yeah, it would be in the TIF.
Just put in the motion that there's a finding that it supports the benefits.
Okay, so there's a finding in the motion that the replacement of the playground equipment and the enhancement of Don Challis, why do I keep doing Dan? Don Challis Park would enhance the TIFs and the surrounding areas of the TIF. I would ask the RDC agree to pay the amount of $78,556.56. I would ask for one of our board members to make a motion to do that.
I'll make said motion.
I would ask for a second.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor, would they please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
There you
Get
go.
that park set, get those kids going.
Thank you. What is the next step on how I?
Send Dan a bill.
Yeah, send that.
We'll send you a big check.
Send a bill and
Yeah,
we'll
you have to
Checks in the
pose
mail.
with the RDC with a huge check. No, it'll be reflected in our minutes, which Kathy will get, and it'll be shown there, and then you guys will just bill the RDC, which is Dan McMillan, so you would send him that invoice, and he would pay that bill, and then we'll get the docket, just try to get it on the March docket, that way it's approved and everything's fine, so, and then you guys should be able to have your playground equipment. It's very exciting.
That is exciting.
Thank
Well, and
you.
I mean, we're saving the city $40,000.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
huge savings.
Now,
That's a lot.
when, I used to be told when,
Right.
when you're buying something in a sale, well, you're saving this much money. Well, no, I'm still paying this much, but, anybody drives by that park, it's always full.
Yeah, it is.
When it got up to 55 degrees the other day and was halfway decent, even though it was muddy, there was a bunch of people down there and little kids playing, so.
This one has a lot more features that are lower to the ground, and it's a better piece of equipment. It'll be great.
Trust me, I almost wish we could get a second shelter down there as much as that one's used.
It is used so much, I know.
Yeah.
I think this is a good deal, guys. Mr. Mayor, do you want to do your report now? Sure. Although you look comfortable there. You could probably do it from there. I hate to get up when you're comfortable.
First of all, the housing prices are up another 11.1% this year. So they continue to move up. And if you watch these podcasts of local realtors, they talk about no homes available for Beech Grove, and they have buyers who want to buy in Beech Grove. So that's just a good thing. So what's going on with the city? NDOT put out a list of roundabouts for construction on the south side this year, and the roundabout at Arlington and Big Four, the letting, which means the bids go out July the 10th. So that will be under construction probably 60 days after the letting. So that's going to happen this fall. That's not a RDC project. I'm just giving you an update. We are in the final stages of funding for the roundabout at 25th and Churchman. That's not an RDC issue, but I'm advising you of it. We applied under a special category called HSIP, Health and Safety Improvement Programs. That is a really difficult area to get funding from because you have to get it approved by the MPO, plus you have to get it approved by NDOT. So it has to be approved twice, where all other funding only has to be approved by the MPO. But we had the highest score of all of the applications for HSIP funding, so I think we're going to get funded. I'm not going to say for sure, but I think we will. The Thompson Sidewalk Project, this is the first conceptual drawing of it. It's down here on the table. They're bumping that project up, and now I think that project will go in 2021. It was 2023. They've moved it up 2 years. And
I don't fix that road. I worry about them using it as a street.
and I think there's nothing etched in stone, but I think the city of Indianapolis may do that road next year. I won't commit to that. I'm just saying that.
I know, I'm just saying that.
So, we just finished a big project a drainage project on Redfern. That's not a RDC issue. I'm just giving you an update on what's going on. CSX, they're in the final phases of cleanup with IDEM and a group called Arcadis, I'm sorry. We should be hearing by the end of March whether it's all closed out. And if it is, I think that will be when the purchase takes place. So this is big news for us. I have been meeting with NDOT people because in 2024 they're going to do another major project at I-65 and I-465 for traffic control. And then they're going to look at, we're going to start looking at I-465 in Emerson. That interchange there and the interchange at Elmwood and Emerson and the interchange at Victory and Emerson. That area, we're going to start studying it. The last year, NDOT did a determination that the intersection of Victory Drive and Emerson is the 50th most dangerous intersection in Marion County and the Donut counties. This year, they did the same study again this year. It's went from 50 to 19.
Oh, God.
So it's opened up for federal funding. So we're going to be looking at doing some work there this fall as far as getting redesign and getting that looked at. I don't know what makes it so dangerous. That's way over my head, but they said that you got to do something with this intersection.
By pulling out from Lowe's. The
Um,
light at the Lowe's is so short. I see people run through that all the time.
So I don't know what that's way over my head. The Greenway is progressing really good. They're almost through the environmental stage. They're working on purchase of right-of-ways and private property. There's about 10 or 11 parcels I think Trent's working on to get them identified to where we would either purchase or what we're finding out is almost everybody that we talk to that has land that we're going to have to either do something with, barter or buy, they're so happy about this greenway, they're going to give that little parcels of land to the city so the greenway can be constructed and go through their property. So that's a plus. And then back to the Arlington and Big Four, there's 6 parcels that we had to work out to buy, and all 6 of them now are completed. So that project's set lead in July. But the big reason, Jeff, I want to introduce Jeff Mader. Jeff is a landscape architect. He wasn't in Southport, but he moved his business to Beech Grove, 3rd and Main. Jeff does some work for Franciscan Alliance, so we wanted to give him an opportunity to do some work for us as well. So this greenway is speeding up real quick, and we start the first part of it in the summer. So in sometime around June, we will build the trailhead on St. Francis property. So I want to lead up so Jeff can take over as to what is going to happen. But we have been meeting with Crossroads and Jeff and St. Francis. And they've come up with some preliminary designs. And St. Francis, our Franciscan Alliance, has agreed that once it's determined how much land is going to be needed for that trailhead, then they will deed that land over to the city of Beech Grove at no charge. And then that way it makes it easier for us to go back and forth to maintain it without getting permission from Franciscan Alliance. So that's going on. And then leading up to after that, we are going to redo, you have to picture this in your head, 16th Avenue from Albany to Maine will completely be redone and will become more pedestrian friendly, including a crossing Albany. 15th Street at Main Street going up to the park will be redone. And then Byland Drive from 12th to 9th will be redone. And then there's a walkway that walks through the woods there at Byland and 12th. Once you come out of that woods, there'll be a walkway that will lead from the start of the woods up to the Hilltop Shelter. Then that will conclude all of the preliminary work for the Greenway. And then after July of next year, then they should let the project out for construction. So all of the areas around the hospital will have, or around the park, Sarah T. Bolton Park, will have been repaved in lieu of this Greenway. So what I want to do is I want to pass this document out. You don't have to approve it. The Board of Works has already approved it, and it's the same 50-50 that you have been accustomed to paying over the past couple of years. The money that was appropriated for the budget, and we have also asked our Franciscan to pay for half of that as well, so we're waiting on a response. And then if that happens, then that will lower the cost for us as well. So I'll pass this out. This is just for your general information. I'm going to turn it over to Jeff and let Jeff talk about the trailhead, the design, the features in the design, and what it's going to look like. Jeff?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll pass out, I've got a couple copies of some of the preliminary design concepts that we put together. Get each end and you can pass them around.
All right.
Good, thanks. My name is Jeff Mader with Mader Design. As the mayor said, we bought the building at the corner of 3rd and Main about a year ago, a little over a year ago, or a little less than a year ago. Moved in November and have been operating our landscape architecture firm for the last few months in there. And we're hoping soon to have a neighbor in 304 next to us move in. But ultimately, I'm here to talk about the Trailhead project and the professional services agreement through Crossroads. I'd be a subconsultant to Crossroads. But as the mayor said, we've met with and talked with Franciscan Alliance and folks with Ton & Blank and St. Francis to kind of go through and look at concepts for what we could do on their property to create a trailhead, create a memorial for the hospital that was there for years and years and years, and try to create something that's special for Beech Grove and creates a starting point for what will ultimately be several miles of trails wandering through the city. In talking with the folks from Ton & Blank and St. Francis, they have some brick from the old building. They have cornerstones that are still in good shape that we're talking about potentially reusing to create some seat walls, some wall signage that would have St. Francis name on it or Franciscans' names on it, possibly include some signage with the history of the St. Francis Hospital on the site, have some additional benches, bike racks, landscaping, and create a nice oasis for somebody to come, visit, sit, understand what was here before, and then start their way on the trail through the city. By starting this trailhead, hopefully yet this year, we'd be able to get that constructed, and as the trail's built, it'll give you an opportunity to, for people working at St. Francis still, whoever develops that site and moves in the future, and all the neighbors to be able to gather here and start on their walk. So I'm looking at some nice materials, brick and some decorative paving, some nice landscaping around that, and creating a space that will allow for a very safe pedestrian crossing of Albany, about where the end of the median is as you're driving east currently to get over to 16th Street and the sidewalks. So happy to answer any questions you might have.
If I'm not mistaken, on your drawings there, they were very happy with what they saw, and they want to proceed. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they like the one on the bottom better.
Personally, I do too.
I do.
And these original concepts were kind of developed on our own. I talked with the mayor about it and had a little bit of a conversation with St. Francis and said, hey, if you come up with some concepts, we might be able to sell this to St. Francis and figure out if we can move this forward. So we took some time and came up with some ideas without a whole lot of input. I think now if we move forward, as we move forward with professional services and the design and engineering part of this, we'll be working with the city, working with you guys and presenting as the design evolves, working with St. Francis to continue to evolve the design, make sure the dimensions are right, make sure everything's set in place. And it will likely, change slightly from what that bottom picture is, but I think, as the mayor said, I think everybody's kind of intrigued by that bottom picture and what that means and how we can get that done. So.
And some of the brick and limestone will be from the hospital?
Will be from the original hospital is what, part of what we'll do is meet with Ton & Blank, who is the construction manager for all of St. Francis projects. We're going to meet with them. They've got a lot of the material stored on site somewhere, so they're going to take us through and look at what works, what doesn't, how we can integrate that into the design, and how, taking those pieces and parts will influence how the design ultimately comes
And
out.
would there be any kind of plaque stating that some of the materials come
Yes.
from?
I think that would be the
Whatever year.
intention. We've talked about talking about the history of St. Francis
A
and
big
Beech
board
Grove,
that
and on the
has
site
the
have
story
a
of St.
interpretive,
Francis.
have an interpretive sign, and
Great.
then to be
Yeah,
able
I
to say at
agree.
the end of that, some of these materials, including hopefully a cornerstone
Yeah, I
from
think
one of
that'd
the
be
original
great.
buildings, is built into this, sign wall, seat wall, however that is. Yes, we'd love to be able to incorporate that.
I think it looks good and it makes that property more attractive and more valuable.
Could there be something somewhere where, like at the downtown at Lucas Oil, where people bought bricks, had names put in it in memory of, or, do you know what I'm talking
I
about?
don't know about
But
that. I don't know.
we'd have to discuss that. I think, that's a possibility if somebody were to, take that initiative to try to raise funds to do that. And that's something between the
Not a
city,
bad idea,
you
Kathy.
guys.
Well,
and
we
St.
did that for
Francis,
my
I think.
stepdaughter when she died. There's a brick there in memory, and when my son-in-law was killed, there's
Yeah.
a brick there. And then the family got a copy of that. We have that very same brick at our house, but it's also in a section at Lucas Oil.
Yeah, we did.
And
It was a moneymaker for them.
that's a possibility. I've worked on several projects where we've
did that.
done.
Well, I agree with you.
Where I've worked with clients to do similar things.
Great.
I've worked at Roncalli High School and the entry, the plaza out front, and several other parks and hospital organizations
I
have
don't
done
think
similar
it's supposed to be
things.
at that trailhead, but even through the park, if you
Yeah,
sold,
yeah.
because here's my thing is, you could take those bricks, if you're getting 25 a brick, people are buying them, putting their name on them, that money could then go to a Parks Trust Fund for
Maintenance.
future playground equipment and maintenance. I mean, and I don't mind the name Francis, I don't mind selling the naming rights or having the Franciscan Trail on it. I mean, I'd have Pizza Hut sponsor City Hall if they'd put it on it.
I think that'd be kind of cool.
I think it's a great idea.
But we'll continue, we'll take that to the discussion process and the design process and see if that fits in.
That was the whole,
They got plenty of
that was
bricks.
the whole reasoning behind them buying the naming rights, was because when the hospital was gone, there was no legacy left.
Right.
And people still have a connection to that hospital that's no longer there. So they want to maintain their legacy in this city, and what a better way to do it is through the trail and the artifacts from the old hospital. So it's really a kind thing that they're doing, and I think it's very sentimental, and I think it'll be beautiful when it's done.
Oh, I do too. I think
Yeah.
looks great.
Could we do, make a long story short, Monrovia High School did a research study. Branch McCracken used to be the coach at IU, and he's from Monrovia. So the teacher got the kids, and they did a historical marker. What about the concept of, we get some kids in the high school, and there's a process, I guess, you have to go and have a historical marker. That one says the birthplace of Branch McCracken. We could maybe do something related to the, the history and the foundation.
Steve McQueen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
There you go.
I think
that's just food for thought.
Absolutely, that's another possibility. I think there's a lot of opportunities for any number of signs to plug into this space or adjacent to it, and I think that,
I just, when we had our original meeting and showed that to them, they were very excited about it. They liked it a lot, and so we'll see what happens. But tonight, we just wanted to bring that to you, introduce Jeff, and this is what's gonna happen. And we plan on redoing 16th Avenue June or whenever the school lets out over there. And we wanna time it to where we do that trailhead at the same time. So it's coming,
So originally I thought the trail was going down 15th, but it's going down 16th.
16th. That is their choice.
Okay, well, originally I'd heard 15th, so it's going down.
16th is their choice.
Okay, so it goes down 16th, then does it cross the street and use that alleyway to go to the park?
No, it'll go to Main Street, and then you'll start seeing
Then
directional
15th.
signs for Franciscan Trail.
Okay.
They'll start popping up.
That's very exciting. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
thank you. And if I could just take another half a second or minute, just kind of to echo what Jim said earlier, as a new business owner, new building owner on Main Street, I'm excited to be here. As you talked about Speedway, and as I've watched Massachusetts Avenue and Fountain Square and other areas develop, I see my business isn't one that's predicated on walk-in customers. I work with architects and park departments and cities and hospitals all around central Indiana and throughout the state. And seeing the opportunities and the development and the momentum that started in Beech Grove attracted me here. I'm a lifelong Southsider, but have never lived in Beech Grove. But to locate my business here with some ease of access in and around the city, and to see the momentum that's building on Main Street, and to want to invest in that, has me really excited about what's coming up. And I thank you for your support and listening to Jim talk for a while, and anything you can help out with the Main Street facade renovation grant is greatly appreciated. So I've invested a fair amount in my building in the last year, and will continue to do so in many coming years. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Welcome to Beech Grove.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bob?
Donald, Alex and I have 3 issues that we could cover very quickly if we could have a few minutes.
That's fine. Things starting to feel like a 2013 RDC meeting.
Do what?
So it's starting to feel like a 2013 RDC meeting.
All good
Yeah,
stuff.
go ahead and have them do.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Robert. When Tara says you have to leave, though, you're gonna have to be quiet, and we're gonna leave.
You got a baby hungry.
Yeah, I got a hungry baby.
In an earlier meeting, we discussed the need to have a report to the overlapping taxing districts, and I would like to recommend that in May, we have Jeff Peters prepare a report. He has to prepare a similar report anyway under another Indiana code provision, where we have to give notice to all the taxing districts on whether or not there's any excess revenues to pass through. That has to be given before June 15th. RDC, as I understand, won't meet again in June, so May would be the ideal time, and if he works on both of those at the same time, there should be some economy of effort and be more efficient. But I want permission to say, Jeff, this is what the RDC wants to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, do we have something in March or April that we had to do too? Because there's like 4 things we have to do. I know we have to report to the city council and get a budget, and then we have that excess of TIF and now this report, but I thought there was one other
I
thing.
think there's some uploading to Gateway that
Right.
Jeff would take care
As long as
of.
we're meeting our obligations,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But yeah, Jeff's a good guy. Yeah.
Is the whole RDC okay with proceeding in that
Sure.
manner?
Certainly.
Okay. There is a piece of legislation that it's been before the legislature in some form or not for the last 3 or 4 years. Paul is familiar with it. Again, there were 2 bills that would have provided, if one of them passed, that the school board representative could vote. It's been taken out of the Senate bill, but it's still in the House bill. Is that correct? And then there's a tax court decision I want Alex to talk about.
Yeah, we wanted to bring to your attention a recent tax court decision from Clark County versus Meyer, just because there was a big box store in the district. This was a dispute over the assessed valuation of Meyer. Meyer valued the property around $7.5 million. The county was upwards of $11 million. And the county appealed the county board's decision to the state board. State board agreed with Meyer, and then the tax court ultimately agreed with Meyer. The major reason was because the tax court has adopted a theory of obsolescence for these stores. So basically they're becoming unused, outdated, obsolete right when they're installed, because they're basically designed to spec for the first generation user. And when a second owner comes in and uses the property, they have to redesign it, spend a lot of money to make it useful for them. And so immediately upon these stores coming in, and the whole property too, like if there's a gas station at one of these big box stores, the value is reduced under tax law because of obsolescence. So just wanted to bring that to your attention.
In other words, our value on Lowe's and Walmart will be declining.
It already has.
Yeah.
It already has.
And all of these big box stores will file tax appeals when they get their assessments, and then we have to be careful not to spend the money until we get the money, because the appeal process takes a while. And it's kind of similar to the issue we brought earlier on the dark stores, where like a Kroger empties one store, they build one across the street that's a little bigger, and because the vacated store doesn't move quickly, then that's used as evidence in these tax proceedings to say market value is only this instead of cost. So you're really looking at assessment well below cost.
Bob, do you have any sense of how dramatically it could affect our budgeting?
Yeah.
Mayor would have a better sense of that.
Lowe's saved over 30,000 a year on taxes.
Arlo's on Emerson.
I don't know about Walmart, what they saved, but both of them appealed and won, and you find out about it when you get your tax payment and it's less, and you ask them why.
The good news, though.
'Cause you're not a
is
party.
We made up that money at Beech Grove Station.
What?
The money we lost in that appeal, we made up because we voted for and got Beech Grove Station. So that assessed value came on the books, what, 2 years ago?
So that was a wash?
Yeah.
Well, the AV, both the city and the school corporation went up almost 5% this year, which was fabulous.
Yeah, we have.
So, I mean, I think we're in pretty good shape. Again, we don't spend foolishly. I think we've really been good about paying our bills and not spending foolishly. And like I say, last year, I think the last 2 years, guys, we've taken in more than we've put out, because that's why we're up to almost $800,000. And if you remember, I think the first year that I was on this with Ron and Kathy, we only had about 130,000 or 40,000 in the bank.
Yep.
And, you know, we were on fumes, so the fact that we did what?
That's being kind.
I mean, the fact that we were improving our greenway, new playground, helping the Main Street, and we have the money, and it's not, well, do we have to get bonds for this, or, you know, we have to do this or that. I mean, we're using it on money we've saved. I think, you know, we've been really good stewards of the money, so I think it's something we should all be proud of.
That's all we have.
Well, that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Anybody have anything else? Comments, concerns? If not, it's 8:40. I thank you all for coming tonight. I thank you all for the hour 40 minutes, but there's a baby that needs food and a mom that should go give it food, so.
And I'm hungry too.
And a superintendent that
Two
needs
babies that
food.
need
Yes,
food.
that too.
So if nobody has anything else, I would ask for a board member to make a motion to adjourn.
I make a
said
motion.
motion.
All in favor?